It's funny. We're all born explorers. Seriously. From the moment we're little kids, we're just wired with this deep, powerful thing called curiosity. It's what makes us poke around, ask a million questions, and just try to figure things out. And that whole journey of figuring things out, well, that's the adventure we're diving into today. It all starts with those really big questions, right? The ones people have been asking for, well, forever, just by looking up at the night sky. Questions exactly like this one. It seems so simple on the surface, but it hints at a whole universe of complexity. I mean, just look at this. When you see an image like this, you really get it. You get a sense of just how much there is to be curious about. We're on this one little planet, staring out at a cosmos just packed with galaxies and endless, endless questions. It's kind of humbling, but at the same time, it's just so exciting, isn't it? But the mysteries aren't just way out there in deep space. They're right here, literally in our own backyards. I mean, think about it for a second. This tiny little creature completely rewrites its own body to become something else entirely. How does that even happen? See, our world is in this constant state of change. From a caterpillar to a butterfly, from a tiny seed to a giant forest, all these incredible transformations are happening all around us, all the time. They're basically just waiting for a curious mind to show up and ask how and why. So, how in the world do you even begin to tackle mysteries that big? You'd think you'd need totally different tools to understand a star versus a butterfly, right? But here's the amazing part, the big twist. The main tool we use to explore the entire universe is the exact same one we use for tiny little everyday problems. Let's start with a really simple, perfect example. An everyday mystery that I'm willing to bet has happened to every single one of us. So picture it. You're writing, you're in the zone, and then nothing. The ink just stops. Now, without even really thinking about it, your brain just kicks into problem-solving gear. So what's the very first thing you do? You do this sequence completely automatically, I bet. First you observe, the pen's not writing. Then you make a quick guess, what we call a hypothesis. The ink must be out. Your test? It's simple. You pop it open and check the ink cartridge. And then from that test, you get a conclusion. Either, yep, your guess was right, or if there's still ink, you gotta make a new guess. And that last part, being wrong and trying again, that is the real engine of discovery. Okay, now this is where it gets really, really cool. That simple, logical little process you just ran through with the pen, it's not just, common sense. It's actually something way bigger. You have been using this powerful, structured way of thinking your entire life to solve problems, probably without ever even knowing there's a name for it. It's called the scientific method. And here is the single most important thing I want you to take away from this. You are already a scientist. This isn't some crazy, complicated thing that only people in lab coats get to do. It is a natural, fundamental way of thinking that all of us use to understand our world. And once you realize you have this tool, you start to see it absolutely everywhere. It's the same basic method, whether you're trying to fix a pen or trying to figure out the laws of the entire universe. So let's take that same method again. You observe something, you make a guess, you run a test. Biologists use that exact same process to understand one of the most basic, amazing processes on Earth, how life itself can spring from something so small. They observe the seed, they guess what it might need, water, sunlight, good soil, and then they run experiments to test those guesses. It's literally the same logic as checking the ink in your pen, just, applied to the miracle of life itself. This even happens in your kitchen. I'm serious. Every time you follow a recipe, or maybe even when you get a little creative and add a new spice, you're using the scientific method. You're making a guess about what's going to taste good, you're testing it, and then you're evaluating the results. And it's not just about flavor. The same principles, observing, testing, help us understand how different foods give our bodies the actual energy they need to work. See? It's all connected. And we can scale this whole idea up even further. This exact same way of thinking is what allows us to be explorers, to head out into the unknown and systematically, piece by piece, make sense of everything we find. So, whether we're studying an ecosystem in the driest desert or discovering brand new species in the deepest parts of the ocean, the basic process is always the same. Ask a question, make an educated guess, and then figure out a way to test it. It's humanity's universal key for unlocking how the world works. But here's the most beautiful part of this whole thing. This process, it doesn't just stop when you find an answer. In science, finding an answer is almost always just a new beginning. This is honestly the best way to think about it. It's not some textbook filled with facts that you have to memorize. It's more like a giant ongoing puzzle that we are all, together, trying to solve. So every single time we solve one little piece of that puzzle, every time we answer one question, it doesn't mean the game is over. No, not at all. Instead, it just opens up a whole new section of the puzzle board, revealing deeper, more beautiful, more fascinating questions we didn't even know we could ask before. So what this all really comes down to is this. Science isn't a destination. It's not about having all the answers. It's a process. It's a journey. The real magic, the real joy, is in the curiosity that kicks the whole thing off. The fun of just wondering and exploring and being on that endless adventure of discovery. Because you already have the only tool you will ever need. You've been using it your entire life. So go out there and use it. Be an explorer, be a scientist, and whatever you do, never ever stop being curious.